Hey friends, it's Allison here, jumping in real quick before you get into all the juicy details of today's episode. Did you know there is just one more week left to our 200th episode giveaway where you have the chance to win a full ride scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint? This is the way to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones even when nothing else has worked. Here's how you can enter. Leave a rating and review on the Better Belly podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify between now and May 29th. Take a screenshot of that rating and review, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 200th episode giveaway form. You will automatically receive an email with a code for $200 off the Better Belly Blueprint, which you're going to get as soon as you send in that form. And then a full scholarship winner is going to be announced on May 30th and messaged by email. If you win, you're going to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you don't win, you can still get $200 off, which is 20% off of the Better Belly Blueprint if you join by May 31st at midnight. So go ahead and leave a rating and review. Get that giveaway form filled out at betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway, and you can finally end your constipation, acid reflux, and PMS for good. When my client Emily came to me, she had a serious case of SIBO that she could not get rid of. Prior to seeing me, she had tried what felt like everything to get rid of her SIBO. Expensive SIBO diets, antibiotics, probiotics, and dozens of doctor visits. And nothing helped. However, in just 3 months on my natural protocol for her SIBO, she had put her SIBO into remission and was on her way to reintroducing tons of food into her diet. Hear Emily's story straight from her mouth and learn how this SIBO natural treatment has finally worked for her and can work for you too. And P.S., today is the last day to get $100 off of the Better Belly Blueprint, the same exact process that Emily is going through herself to get rid of her SIBO. This is a part of our celebration of the Blueprint being available to all clients in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. Use the code INTERNATIONAL when you pay in full to get $100 off today. Go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint or click the link in the show notes. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. Do you want freedom from bloating and constipation? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling natural constipation remedies, causes for bloating, or recipes and exercises to help constipation? Are you frustrated with the mind game of trying to figure out what foods are helping or hurting your gut? Hey, I'm Allison, mom, wife, and functional gut health practitioner. At a young age, bloating and constipation were my constants. I didn't know what to do and wished I could just live a normal life focusing on my passions, my job, and my family. I was tired of abdominal pain that woke me up at night and wasting time and money on gut health remedies that just didn't work. Breakthrough moment, the functional medicine and osteopathic approach to gut health. In this podcast, you will find natural remedies for bloating and constipation, practical, doable belly exercises and massages, and debunked myths about what really is causing your tummy problems. So toss out those laxatives and say goodbye to that embarrassing gas. Your gut health is calling. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. Awesome, Emily. So thank you so much for letting us record this first half of your 3-month follow-up call. I asked you with deep heartfeltness, like, please, will you share this? Because it is your choice to share this. But you have had some amazing changes go on. And like your process has not been perfect these last few months. You've had like hard things go on. You're still not done yet, but you've had some amazing healing. And so thank you so much for coming and just letting us record essentially us processing where you started, where you are, and like all the amazingness that is going on there. So, Emily, just to review, like when you came to me, what was going on? Like, what were your top symptoms? What were things you'd already tried? Where were your emotions at in terms of your health? Just give us a quick recap on you.
So I was diagnosed about a year ago with SIBO. From one of the first Western medicine doctors that I felt like listened to me And so I had gone through uh, at least 4 to 5 rounds of rifaximin and other supplement type things to try and heal and get rid of the SIBO. Um, Basically this summer my insurance changed, and um my I can't see the doctor I was seeing at the time, and she said I still had my SIBO, and she said really the kind of the last ditch effort here to get rid of it is going on this liquid diet, and then trying to find a practitioner who will support you. So I went on a liquid diet for 15 days. That's all you eat. It was very difficult and trying. But what I found for the first time at the end of like about August, middle of August, was I had cleared the SIBO. And I also was on the search for who could help me next. And I listened to your podcasts on some different vacations we went on. And I felt like the other people, like gastroenterologists and general practitioners, were basically telling me that I was nearly 40 and this was just what my life was going to be like. And so my symptoms at the time were bloating all the time, where I was buying new pants pretty often after having been the same size for many years. And then suddenly it changed to I was buying pants all the time. And then I was constipated all the time, where I could go to the bathroom, but I never felt like I could empty. So I constantly felt like there was more I needed to go. Tired, my energy levels were very low. I was feeling kind of numb about things because a lot of people just told me that's what it was going to be like as a 40-year-old. And
Yeah.
I did not want to accept that I was going to live 40 to 60 more years in that position. So, after listening to the podcast and really digging into some of the resources that I heard from some of your guests and then you, I looked into like oxalates and different things like that. I had already been gluten free. I'd already done dairy free. I'd done lots of elimination and was basically at a point of not eating really anything except salad and chicken and some yogurt and a little bit of fruit. And so I was just in a really sad place of it was hard for me to socialize with other people because there's nothing I could eat. It was hard for anyone to identify with me because they just didn't know what to say. And so I found your information, and I really wanted to do the foundations program. At the time it was not like, there wasn't a slot. And so I waited till the next round and I was able to get a slot. And we did testing, which ended up being like hair and stool testing, I think were the primary ones. And waited a while for the results to come back because the lab was backed up. And once we came back to our like results call, I ended up finding some information that really lined up, I felt like, with all the things I was feeling. And so it was discovered that I had H. pylori, which nobody in the Western doctor world had, offered as a piece of the puzzle. And then C. diff, which also nobody had offered to me. And then the other one was mold exposure. And so since August, then I started some of the initial protocols, which were like building up my liver and building up some of the nutrients, because a lot of my energy and things that were happening that were depleted because of lack of nutrients. My hair was
not from eating badly, but because
no.
being sick depletes us of more nutrients. So like we just had a supplement, and just to be clear for listeners, you are not eating like it does not have to do with your food, but stuff we found in like your minerals, for example,
Yep.
that we found in your hair.
Yep. And that just like the stuff that I was eating was healthy food, but it wasn't being absorbed. And so getting the supplements in there that were aiding in the absorption of nutrients. So that's kind of where it started. Do you want me to
You're doing
say?
great. This is look at you. You just, by the way, y'all, she's a teacher. So I think that honestly, what you just did, I was like, this is thorough. It's organized. It's in order. You've been great. And I mean, all I would do is like sit on some of what you just shared and like emphasize. So like you listed out some of your symptoms. And when I have people start working in, now it's just the Better Belly Blueprint, because pretty much everything you're doing is in the Better Belly Blueprint. When you start that, it is, I have you write down your top 5, and what you just listed out is almost all of your top 5. Yet I'm looking at your form you had filled out: constipation, bloating, fatigue, and then also the diarrhea and the trouble breathing. And you listed all those, like either 7 out of 10 intensity, which was like the fatigue and trouble breathing, so 10 being the worst, 8 out of 10 for the diarrhea, and then 10 out of 10 for the constipation and bloating. Right. And so like things were not good, and you'd already tried a lot. You'd even notice some improvement with that liquid diet you had done. And we'd actually started working together around the time you had started it. And you're like, should I wait? What's going to happen? I was like, not to blow, you had already like bought everything you needed for it, but I basically said not to like burst your bubble, but it's probably, at most it will minimize your symptoms, but it won't heal you. Not because I want to be a Debbie Downer, but because I've seen this over and over again. You're like, well, I already bought it, I'm going to do it. And again, you did see some improvement in your symptoms, but it's not like what you're seeing now. And
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
it was just kind of like, and the doctor I had been working with also said it to me like, this is like, we need to try and resolve this, but there's probably more going on. And so in my head, I knew like, well, number one issue is there's lots more that I can't eat because of the SIBO diagnosis. And so now that that has flushed out, it's opened a tiny bit of more food for me. It's not a lot, but
Right.
it
And
is like some gluten-free options that I didn't have before.
it's going to be a lot more food in like probably the next 3 to 6 months, which is what we're going to talk about in the second half of today's call, which is more like the first 30 minutes is looking back, and everything after, when we stop recording this, is going to be looking forward. Because yeah, you don't need to be, when the gut's actually healed, there might be some foods, yeah, you're just going to be permanently sensitive to, but the SIBO was then causing leaky gut, was then causing you to develop all these temporary food sensitivities, which is why you were on such a narrow list. And so you can't heal with food at that point. It's not about the food anymore. It's about having 3 different pathogens and really poor digestive enzymes and low stomach acid. And just a real quick for our listeners, just something that I'm hearing a lot is people say, oh, I heard on the podcast, she said H. pylori is important, or C. diff, or mold. I'll have my doctor look for it. H. pylori, they might look for it, but the test is super weak. So unfortunately, I'm actually kind of glad, Emily, your doctors hadn't mentioned it, because the likelihood, I have seen this 99%. There's one case where this was not true. 99% of the time, when you get an H. pylori test done through conventional testing, the lab is very weak. Their lab is weak, and it will say it's negative. I literally just did a lab recently with a client in 2019. I told him he probably had H. pylori. He didn't want to go do it through me. He did it through a doctor. It came back negative. All his symptoms have stayed the same. He saw me a couple months ago. We did the GI map, and it came back positive, like really high, and yours was high. So it's like, it's not even like it's borderline. People can have raging H. pylori and it doesn't show up. So I mean, just to say, like, both for our listeners, but also for you, you like save time essentially for them almost not mentioning it, because they wouldn't have even known what to do. So they would have probably given you antibiotics, which when you have SIBO, it bombs all your healthy bacteria too, and it can throw you into another tailspin of SIBO. So it's like, we have been able to gently and efficiently deal with everything at this point. So, but we talked about those top 5, and I'm actually looking at, I don't know if you have your intake form that you had refilled out for the 3-month follow-up. I have it right in front of me. Do you either remember it or like have it in front of you? Because I would love for you to share with people when you started on that, all of your symptoms were 7 to 10 intensity out of a scale of 0 to 10. What are they now?
I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I do know that I ranked most of them as like 1 or 2 at this point.
Yes. So constipation was 0.
Yeah.
Your bloating was 3. I mean, so, and that's from a 10 to a 3. So that's, 60% improvement, like
Mm-hmm.
90%. I guess I can do math. 70%. I'm like mixing up my numbers and I'm talking. It's hard to spell and do math and teach at the same time. So, anyways, 70% improvement just in 3 months and from a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge improvement. And it's not even like the most you're going to get. You're by no means plateaued. You're literally in the middle of a process. Diarrhea was 8 to 4, fatigue 7 to 2, trouble breathing 7 to 0, which is so lovely. Tell us more about the trouble breathing. Like, what did it feel like in your body? Because I find some people aren't even aware of it until like it's mentioned. And then what does it feel like now? Hey, friend, do you feel like you're never properly digesting anything no matter how you change your diet? Have you spent thousands of dollars buying supplements, labs, and fancy functional or holistic practitioners to simply have no relief from your symptoms? Or do you just want to poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones without being dependent on medications? If so, I've got great news for you. You can stop the money hemorrhage that's happening around your health and finally get worry-free health through the Gut Healer System. The Gut Healer System is my 2.0 upgrade to the former Better Belly method that consistently reduces our clients' symptoms by 80% in 3 to 6 months so that your health can finally feel easy. Our clients have gone from being stuck at home with fibromyalgia to watching their grandchildren's soccer games every evening, or they've been able to travel for work and pleasure without wondering the entire trip if they're going to become constipated and ruin their whole time. We've also seen clients get off of 40 plus years of medications that they've been on for acid reflux, constipation, and PMS, and stay off that medication without needing to be on lifelong extreme diet restrictions or supplements. I want you to be able to enjoy the holidays and family meals without fearing how you're going to feel afterwards or feeling guilty for what you do eat. If you are ready for this, head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to watch my free micro training to learn exactly how 600 plus of my clients have healed their gut even when nothing else has worked before. In this training, you're going to learn what your doctors are missing, even if they're functional or holistic, why no amount of food restrictions are going to heal your gut, the 5 toxin trap that is keeping you sick, how to heal your gut in the most affordable way possible, and the 3 steps to actually heal your gut. I can't wait to see you living a worry-free, optimal, healthy life. Head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to get started today. Now, back to the show.
It was like previously, even with the conditions that I've been experiencing, I had been exercising about 4 days a week, at least 4 to 5. And it was a boot camp style. So it was not like a little walk or something here or there. And so I felt like I was in pretty good condition, but at the height of its worst, I was walking up to the second floor of my house and getting winded by the top of my stairs, or getting up to go get a drink of water and I would have to catch my breath to stop to take a drink of the water. So to me, that felt pretty significant. It was, I was like, it just feels like my airway is not open enough. And I, because of the protocols I've been on and some of the die-off and side effects that have come with it, my exercise currently has gone to pretty sedentary. But even with that, I don't notice the like gasping for air kind of situation.
For something that doesn't even qualify as exercise, like going up your
Yeah,
stairs. Like,
yeah,
like I exercised today. I went up my stairs.
yeah, yeah,
I took a sip of water.
yep.
It made me out of breath. That shouldn't be happening. Right. And actually there can be several causes to that. Sometimes it can be called air hunger, other problems. So air hunger is like a cellular problem where you are not able to, your cells aren't respirating well, and respiration happens with both inside your lungs, but also inside your cells. And when you're really toxic, really inflamed, there's lots of pathogens going on. They're stealing all your nutrients. You basically can't get oxygen from your red blood cell into your actual cells, and it just really mounts the fatigue and also a lot of brain fog. The other problem is that when there's a lot of bloating and abdominal pressure, which is the typical case when you have all these problems going on in the abdomen, is that it pushes on the diaphragm. It makes it so hard for the diaphragm to actually make space and create that openness to pull air in. So then you're like working really hard just to like breathe, because you're having to fight against this higher than normal pressure in the abdomen, which is right below that diaphragm. So if anybody's sciencey and wants to know that, just to know it's not like magic. Like there's a reason. You just track it down. So you have been working on the H. pylori protocol first, because we want can be a huge problem with SIBO, that H. pylori will cause low stomach acid, and low stomach acid enables the environment of SIBO. Remind me, I think you're done with your H. pylori protocol, or are you in the middle of it right now?
I'm almost done with, we're 2 weeks into the Matula tea, so I have 2 weeks left of that, and then I'm at the end of that.
Okay, and you haven't started C. diff, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and remind me, I think you had to go very slowly in adding in your supplements, because you were just getting a lot of reaction to them, right? Yeah, it was like a month or two where you were just like building up like the first few supplements in the H. pylori protocol, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
One of the supplements are drops, and so the drops, you have to get up to 10 drops 3 times per day, and I was trying to slowly increase them, and then I was having a lot of bathroom urgency and needing to go immediately to use the bathroom, to go diarrhea. At one point I tallied it, and it was 12 times in one day. And I teach, which in an elementary school with first grade students, and that is a challenging task to do when you feel good. So yeah, we backed down on that and just kind of did status quo for a while, and I kind of let it go. Did some Epsom salt baths, and started introducing the biotoxin binder to try and clear out the pathogens, and eventually was able to get up to the 10 drops without. I still go to the bathroom like 2 or 3 times before I leave for work in the morning, but I don't have these urges throughout the day, which is what was happening.
Right. And so for you just had to go slower, and it didn't mean it wasn't working. It didn't mean we were hurting you. You were uncomfortable, but hurting in the sense of like we were making a problem worse or something. We were just addressing the problem, and the problem was fighting back.
Yeah.
You have some pretty nasty pathogens in you, and you knew what to expect because we had talked about it. And so there was, even while you were like, is this worse than normal? And when I came back, I was like, let's just reduce your supplements, but keep it steady and make sure we keep putting the pressure on the pathogens to go the heck and die, like just leave.
Mm-hmm.
You have now made it through. You're not even done with the protocols, and you've like really overcome a huge immediate resistance in the pathogens, and you're seeing the results.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm reading some other things on here. Your sleep, you said, is you're enjoying a lot in your body. Tell us more about that. Sleep.
I just feel like a little bit more well rested. At the height of like all of the things, I was waking up often at night, and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I just didn't feel very well rested, which I also thought was contributing to my lack of energy.
Doesn't help.
And then other times I was at a point of like when I was fighting the SIBO pieces of it, just like wanted to overly sleep very often. And so now there's a much better balance of like, even though I had adjusted my bedtime and things like that, at that point in time too, I still never either felt like I got enough sleep, or it just was never enough in some way.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is maybe you're going to bed, you're staying asleep, so you're actually enjoying sleep better. And then you're waking up and you feel like you had enough sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sleeping less by any chance? Not necessarily like in a bad way, like you can't sleep, but like you're not needing to sleep as many hours.
I think I tend to go around like to bed around the same time and wake up around the same time, and that's kind of stayed the same.
Okay.
But it used to be like if my alarm went off and I decided, well, today I'm just gonna rest and not work out, then I was overly tired for the entire day, even if I had gone to bed for that like a little bit earlier wake up time.
And doesn't that
So,
just feel like you like slid backwards on
mhm.
like improving despite doing nothing or despite trying to rest? It's like the
Yeah.
worst. So one last thing I'm gonna mention here that I'm looking at in your forms that I got very excited about, which is could you tell or just like review um about your anxiety, essentially. Like I'm looking, you were on a medication, you're still on it, but that has
Hmm.
changed. And you even say one of the things you're enjoying in your body right now is less anxiety. And that's, like as far as I understand, it's your, life situation's pretty similar from the last time. You're still the same job, but your anxiety is less. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, um, in the month of like September to October and before our last call, I was experiencing just some really extreme anxiety. And I've always been a person that is more anxious and like gets worried about things and um, plans more of a type A personality. And in those couple of months, I was finding just like intensive worry about going to work and what was going to happen there and how I was going to handle it. I was crying multiple times a day, I would say, for several weeks. I was just not in a place that I was happy or felt good about anything. And none of my anxiety I've dealt with before has ever felt to that extreme to me. And so it was very scary. Um, we had a conversation about kind of like some of the things that I could do. Um, I I did bump up my anxiety medication a little bit so that I could just try and see if I can stabilize it.
You
And
tripled it. You tripled it. You went up to like it's not. I mean, it's a little bit in terms. It's not. They're not huge, but
just,
like you went from one tab of what you were taking to three, which again is fine if you're like just like I just need to get it through the day. It's not bad, but it's just if people are wondering, like when you say little act, that feels like a lot.
mm-hmm. And I experienced like some side effects from that too, as you can, like dizziness and things like that. But nothing about my job has changed, and I have the same makeup of kids in my class for the most part. There were a couple changes that happened, and I did have permission to like try and let whatever I could go. And so I've been taking that really to heart, but nothing really else about my situation has changed. And overall, I don't get up like I lost weight because I was so anxious and was the texture of foods was bothering me and how I couldn't eat stuff was bothering me. Like any little thing was bothering me in conjunction with any of the actual things that were a problem with the teenagers that live in my house and 5-year old and things like that. So I now feel like I'm in a place that feels more stable to me and I can come to work and do what I need to do and just try and let the things go that I need to. But I'm no longer worrying about what's going to happen and all the things that were on my plate before.
You feel really different, even from our last call. I know last call we did spend a little bit more time talking about how much might your anxiety be like kind of the physiological, biological stuff we were trying to address, and then is there anything else we could do to just like take off the edge? Because you were really at your limit, like, and you were being very honest. You weren't like, you're not being, I don't know, over dramatized. It was sucky.
Mm-hmm.
And like what is amazing is so many times a lot of the advice I'm giving on calls, while it's not always like solves all people's problems in the moment, it's like, wait, hold on, just keep doing what you're doing and things are going to shift. And they have. And you have in your form here, you recently weaned down from the 3 tabs a day back down to the 1 tab a day of your anxiety medication, which is just a good sign. Like, it's just beautiful. Like that. Also, the anxiety wasn't necessarily all you. It wasn't your character. It wasn't your willpower. It wasn't your how much love you do or don't have for your children or your kids at school, or like it was just like your body was it was being hit in all directions, and we're helping at least one of those directions be a little quieter and a little bit healthier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the helpful things that maybe doesn't help all people, but it helped me reframe some of it, was around the conversation, like, anxiety is a die-off or is a side effect of this protocol and this.
Yeah.
So, like, I've just tried to keep that in mind as I started the Matula tea, which has been a new thing that was added a couple of weeks ago. And, one of your tidbits was like, that might re-stir some things up. And so in my mind, I've been just kind of like, okay, this could happen, not to be anxious about it, but like watch out for it in what I'm doing, because that could be the cause of it, and not just I'm losing it in all places.
Right. It really takes off. It's kind of, can take off the shame or the wondering or the blame or misassigning symptoms as like the worst misassignment of symptoms that I think I see happen all the time is we blame ourselves or our character or whatever. And we just become more harsh on ourselves rather than saying, if you're more tired because you have the flu, we're like, well, I have the flu, I need a nap. But if we just need a nap all the time, you don't know why, you're like, that's when things get weird, right? Same with anxiety. So thank you so much for sharing all of those thoughts, Emily. I know we have a lot of people listening who deal with SIBO, who deal with anxiety, who are dealing with constipation. And I think your story is just like your role model to me. Like all my clients are like, you really believed in the process. You've believed in your body and yourself. You've kept pushing forward. I'm so proud of you. And I'm really excited just for our conversation where we're going to be talking about the next 3 months and what's coming down the line. Before we head off, is there anything I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but like anything off the top of your head you would like to encourage our listeners in? If you could say something to a woman who might be in your shoes, what would you encourage her with?
I would just say, like, never settle for what somebody else tells you. I had multiple Western medicine physicians that I met with, nutritionists, general practice doctors, gastroenterology doctors, all of those people who kind of were like, well, this is how it is. And I didn't feel like that was really how it should be. And so I think keep pressing for answers if you feel like I'm not feeling better from this. And I think the biggest thing that I've tried to do throughout this is just trust the process, and knowing that pieces of it are hard, and they have been very, very hard in different ways throughout. But I've felt rewarded in some ways already with the symptom relief, and I could get rid of my bigger pants that I never really needed anyway. And to me, that feels like a huge thing, because I thought I was just starting menopause or something early. I don't know. So.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. And thanks everybody for listening. And Emily, we're going to keep on our conversation, looking to the future. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, It's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.